What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Happy New Year! Happy New Year, and welcome to the year of our Lord 2025. I'm glad that you're here. I hope that your holidays were bright, light, wonderful, peaceful, restful, and all those good things. What's up, Dillon, Naber, Cruz, the tattooed theologian? What's going on? Happy New Year!
Happy New Year to you and to all our faithful listeners and those who are joining us on the live stream. Yeah, good to flip that calendar arbitrarily like we do every year and feel like we got a fresh start.
Feel like we got a fresh start. Hopefully it turns out to be a fresh start. It looks like we brought in the new year with a bang as far as news goes, literally. There's a lot going on in the news for real. How about that? What in the hello ham and cheese is going on in the news starting the new year off? Now we getting a lot's been going on in the last 2 weeks. We ain't got time to even talk about the whole last 2 weeks, but in just the last 2 days, there's been a lot of breaking news. What you got, Dillon, Cruz? What's up?
Well, I did want to lead off with the fact that former President Carter passed away, and he was the kind of Christian that he didn't need to browbeat you with the Bible or take away your rights so that you knew that he was a Christian.
That's right.
And the response from the Christian right to his death was pretty horrific and awful. People disparaging him because he rejected that level of fundamentalism and hatefulness. And
didn't somebody post something really ridiculous?
Oh, I heard that Al Mohler had said something, and he, if you remember, was one of the representatives for the fundamentalist fuckwittery last year, and he is also the president of Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Kentucky, that school that was started by the enslavers and maintains a tradition of white supremacy to this day, is in my opinion. So it doesn't surprise me that Albert Mohler had negative things to say about Jimmy Carter, a thoroughly, genuinely good human being. And yes, there were things in his administration that were not awesome, but that speaks more to the interiority of the system of the United States as a foreign policy superpower than it does to Jimmy Carter. But other than that, terrorist, American citizen terrorist, Army veteran, well, one active duty and one veteran are committing acts of terrorism. And it just boggles my mind.
Yeah, so if you haven't not been tuning into the news or haven't been on the internet much, we had a terrorist attack. Was it yesterday or day before yesterday?
Yeah, New Year's Eve in New Orleans.
Yes, New Year's Eve, and then I think New Year's Day was the Cybertruck explosion or whatever it was at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, right? In the New Year's Eve attack, this was a veteran citizen, resides in Texas. Who knows what his plans were all the way down in New Orleans, except for to terrorize a large event. The other gentleman was active duty, highly decorated, Green Beret.
Yeah.
That's very disturbing. I don't know what they're saying. I don't think they have released anything about what either of their motives was. The first gentleman from New Year's Eve, apparently he had an ISIS flag in his truck. I think that's what they're saying. And then
he had said that he had devoted himself to ISIS or joined ISIS or however that works. And he was going through a divorce apparently as well. So that might have played into that. The scary thing is that it was like a what do they call that? Copycat attack to the one that happened in Germany over the Christmas period, where a neo-Nazi drove into a crowd in Germany. And then the neo-Nazi that killed people at the Unite the Right rally in D.C., and that's the one where Trump, prevaricated, but he said, there were fine people on both sides, that rally. So, using vehicles as a weapon is a frightening thing because that could happen anywhere.
It can, because they did have protocols in place to protect the crowd, and he drove right around the barricade up on the sidewalk, right past the police, right in front of, literally swerved around. Now they got to him quickly. What's up, cousin Inez? They got to him quickly, but not before he had what is now 15 people and mowed down 30 something people. I mean, because a truck coming at a crowd high speed, what can you do? Even if you chase the truck, chase after it, you're also chasing into a crowd to chase after it. So there's only so much that you could do. The reports are that it turned into basically a shootout, which is also dangerous in that situation because you have people all around. So just a heartbreaking situation that we're starting off the year that way. But
and the Republicans, first of all, Trump on his Truth Social thing, like as soon as the news broke, started talking about open borders and all kind of stuff. Immigrants. And then even after they found out that it was an American citizen, a U.S. Army veteran, Mike Johnson's still out there talking about open borders and linking it to this attack. And it has absolutely fuck all to do with any kind of immigration thing. The man was an American citizen born in Beaumont, Texas. So that is the ugly nature of politics, like the kind of politics that Mike Johnson engages in. He's using this horrific tragedy and trying to dovetail it to something that it has absolutely nothing to do with, so that he can scapegoat other people that didn't have anything to do with this kind of thing.
That's right. Deidre said, and what's up, Deidre? Hey, girl. Hey. Deidre says, I genuinely feel like the ISIS flag is a distraction. The Vegas suspect was a veteran too. I agree with that. Well,
there's videos of the guy saying, like the guy that drove in saying that he joined ISIS.
I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm not saying that he didn't. Excuse me, just to talk around it. And one thing I noticed is how quickly, now mind you, this is in fact a terrorist attack. Okay. But it's always interesting to me how quickly they come out and say it's a terrorist attack when this person is a brown skinned or has a different name, and how slowly they are to do that when it's a white gentleman. It's always a delay in calling it a terrorist attack. But if that person is brown, it's a terrorist attack right out the gate. They ain't investigating. It don't matter what. It don't matter why they drove into the crowd. You know what I'm saying? But, this is legitimately a terrorist attack. The other gentleman, who knows what that's about yet. I think they're still trying to figure that out. What interests me about both of these situations that is kind of scary and unnerving is that's right, it's domestic terrorism. They're going to try to say, they could say ISIS, they could say what they want, but this is an American citizen. They're both citizens. They're both the United States military. It's the radicalization of American citizens, regardless of what their skin look like or what their name is. You know what I'm saying? What's a little bit unnerving to me is that both of these gentlemen are military, one veteran and one active duty. Like I'm a little bit unnerved about the gentleman that's active duty, highly decorated. I'm like, what pissed this guy off? You know what I'm saying? The good news, if there's some good news, is that he didn't take out anyone but himself. But I'm assuming that was not necessarily the intention. Who knows? They said that there were explosives or something inside his truck or something going on there. So I don't know. They believe that the name of this gentleman is Matthew Livelsberger. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. 37 of Colorado. They haven't yet seemed to call this a terrorist attack. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but we're definitely off to a very interesting start.
They did say that they couldn't find any link between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see Charlotte Clymer on Threads today make a comment to the effect of, people are freaking out because this is a veteran and an active duty soldier. But other people have been saying, look, veterans and active duty service members are being radicalized. Something needs to happen about this. Mm-hmm. And now, this within 24 hours or less, we've had two of these attacks. It'll be interesting to see what they find out about motive in the Vegas Cybertruck thing, because why do it in front of a Trump hotel and in a Musk Cybertruck if you're not against Musk and Trump? So I don't know what the man's politics were. I didn't see anything about that yet. But that would just, if he was a MAGA guy, that would seem to be a strange move.
Yeah.
And if he was,
either way, it's strange. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? You gonna really, how much money did you spend to do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just a strange thing. Another interesting thing that's been going on in the last, I think it's died down a bit, but this whole H-1B visa bickering going on, infighting going on between MAGA world and President Elon Musk and them. Have you seen that or heard anything about that, where they're going back and forth? And then Vivek Ramaswamy got chewed up and spit out because he basically implied that Americans are lazy and that's why we need the H-1B program, because the best and brightest, we need to bring those into the United States. And if Americans could get off of social media and this and that and the third, basically he hit us with the American need to pull up their pants and pull themselves up by their bootstraps kind of stuff.
And he called Americans stupid. And
use the R word. I'm not going to use it here, but
and that
intellectually disabled. So he deleted that since, I think.
White America did not appreciate Vivek Ramaswamy calling them dumb and lazy and all that kind of stuff.
And mediocre.
And that dude is vile. And I saw somebody that said that from now on they're going to call him vile Ramasmarmy because he is smarmy as hell. And he's a billionaire. Of course he wants the cheapest labor he can get.
Yes.
And that's some of the criticism about the H-1B visa program, apparently, is that and I watched a video of Steve Bannon complaining about this. And of course, Steve Bannon is racist as hell. And then he says, and they're leveling charges of racism against us. But we've got black people in the MAGA movement. My dude, Thomas Jefferson raped Sally Hemings many, many times. Proximity does not make you not racist.
It does.
Relationships don't make you not racist. So Steve Bannon claiming to not be racist.
Friend, so
hilarious.
Saying we got black people in the MAGA. Yeah, you got. I won't use the word that I want to use. You got some mirror monsters with you. People who look in the mirror and don't like themselves. You know what I'm saying? You got some folks with you. Where's Tim Scott at? Where's Byron Donalds as his name? Where's all these black people that was going? Where they and Trump totally just kicked y'all all the way to the good curb when he got this election in the bag. He don't need y'all no more. You don't need y'all no more. Where you at? Anyways, on this H-1B situation, Bernie Sanders actually posted this afternoon, in response to what Elon Musk was saying about the H-1B program. They're trying to pump it up. It's best and brightest. And Bernie Sanders posted it in response to all that. And he said, Elon Musk is wrong. The main function of the H-1B visa program is not to hire the best and the brightest, but rather to replace good paying American jobs with low wage indentured servants from abroad. The cheaper the labor they hire, the more money the billionaires make.
That's it.
That's what Bernie Sanders said today. Clapped on back. Because Musk was claiming something about that there's a shortage on excellent engineering talent in the country. And we have a culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian. So anyways, I believe that was Ramaswamy that posted that.
Yeah,
but anyhow, somebody posted to Elon Musk that he needs to take a big step back and go fuck yourself.
Well, yeah, he was saying that people should go fuck themselves in the face and stuff like that.
What is that? And then he come back and say we need to keep this a positive place after he said
Why don't you post more positive things on X? Man, come on. That place is a Nazi hellscape. I'm well shot of it now. I'm glad I'm not there. The only reason that I would want to be there is so that I could keep tabs on some fundamentalist fuckwittery, but it just ain't worth my mental health.
And Trump I think also chimed in and had the nerve to say, I got a lot of H-1Bs on my property.
No,
some kind of statement that he made, and this is but the Economic Policy Institute said that the system is deeply flawed, and although the program is meant to help employers find workers with specialized skills, they found that it's actually used to fill a very large number of routine positions that require relatively little experience and ordinary skills, which is no surprise to anyone.
Yeah.
Like Bernie Sanders said, cheap labor for billionaires. That's what it's used for primarily. I'm not saying that we don't get some best and bright folks from all around the globe on the H-1B, but that's just not what it's primarily used for, because, this is America. For real.
That's right. And money talks.
Money talks. Bullshit walks. And somebody said Sanders criticized Tesla's reliance on the program, saying if there really is a shortage of skilled tech workers in America, then why did Tesla lay off over 77,500 American workers while being approved to employ thousands of H-1B guest workers? Well,
yeah, it's the same thing as the reason why they outsource things overseas. Why Phil Knight wants to have his Nike shoes made in Malaysia or Vietnam or Bangladesh or somewhere instead of having them made in the United States, because he doesn't want to pay American workers to make his shoes. And so he can just continue to rake in his billions of dollars and whatnot. And there's something in the Bible about that kind of thing. Lots and lots of things, in fact. And I'm going to talk about it later a little bit in the word on the street. So we'll get there eventually.
One other thing in the news, and then we're going to get on, because I want to hear who is the fundamentalist fuckwittery of the week. So I do believe Elaine Glover Luther said, did Melania come over on an H-1B? I do believe she did.
I do believe that it was one of those visas. Yeah. Something like that.
And then her modeling family was brought over through this. It's so funny how it's good for them, but not good for anybody else. Because chain migration for them. Yeah, so I guess it's good for them. Right country, not a shithole country. Right color of skin, not brown, not black. So I guess it's all right for Melania and them to do the H-1B and the chain migration or whatever it is. It's all right for them. Something that was in the news that I thought was so serendipitously petty and delightful is Biden is giving a presidential citizens medal to Liz Cheney, which is so ironic and petty, and also makes you want to throw up and clap at the same time. And I don't know how all those emotions could exist at the same time, but somehow they do.
Yeah.
What you think about that? And this is to honor her standing up for democracy and her leading the charge on the January 6th committee. Now, what do you think about that?
Well, remember that Trump, I think, gave the same award to Rush Limbaugh before Rush Limbaugh died.
That was a hot mess. I'm like, and for what? For literally being an asshole on air for years?
Vile, disgusting human being.
He did nothing for the country.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever. So maybe it was sort of a clapback to that kind of thing. I don't know.
No, I don't know. He said it stated that he said Cheney was recognized for having, quote, raised her voice and reached across the aisle to defend our nation and the ideals we stand for: freedom, dignity, and decency. And, that might be true because she really did cancel her career out with that investigation.
Yeah.
She was censored by her own state, and then she was voted out, and she probably can never hold office in that state again, or any prominent office in the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is now MAGA. And if you don't run behind and sniff the butt of Trump, then you ain't shit, I guess. So it's not that that's not true. It's that her record leading up to that. Didn't you say that she stood in front of the cameras and said that the Democrats are allowing abortions up to the day of birth or something?
No, after the moment of birth.
How does that even work?
Post-birth abortions. I mean, Liz Cheney's political career
post-birth abortion is a homicide. I don't know how that works.
She's basically awful. But as we say in Texas, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Not a blind squirrel, Lord.
She found the nut that I can't be on the side of brazen fascism and insurrection. And I give her credit for that because, she did take a risk, and she got kicked out of her, her position and all that kind of stuff. And now she's got a big old bullseye on her back because Mr. Retributor in Chief wants to make political enemies and fascist 101 kind of ways. So, but yeah, it's a strange day in America.
Strange day. But hey, you know what? I ain't hating on nobody. Go ahead and get your flowers, girl, because you really did cancel your career for the country. That's true. It did happen. It's going down in the history books. You'll be right there on the committee of the January 6th insurrection investigation. You'll be right there in the history books. It did happen. So go on and get your medal.
Did Benny Thompson get one?
Yes, I do believe so.
Okay, well that makes it a little better. If Benny got one, then that makes it a little better because he, as an African American politician, he probably got as big a target on his back now too.
Absolutely.
As Cheney and Kinzinger do.
Yeah, both of them are recipients of the medal, so that's good. You gotta take what you can get. Anyhow, I am ready. I don't know if anybody else is, but I'm personally ready to see who is the fundamentalist fuckwit of the week. I want to know. Our inquiring minds wants to know who is on that bullshit this week. Dillon, Naber, Cruz. What's going on? Who we got?
Well, this week the fundamentalist fuckwittery is brought to you by none other than William Wolfe. And William Wolfe has sometimes been called one of the two wolves of Christian nationalism because there's another guy he's not related to who wrote a book called The Case for Christian Nationalism named Stephen Wolfe. And Wolfe is now the executive director of the Center for Baptist Leadership. And he has been part of this really hard right push in the Southern Baptist Convention that is pushing back against Southern Baptists like Jimmy Carter. And he is a graduate of Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, where Albert Mohler is president. And you'll remember that just before the holiday break, Albert Mohler was on this particular segment because he brings the fundamentalist fuckwittery on the regular. William Wolfe is important because he is a Russ Vought acolyte. And for people who don't know who Russ Vought is, Russ Vought was Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget in his first term. He has now been tapped for that same position in the forthcoming Trump term. He also wrote one of the chapters for Project 2025 and is the director of something called the Center for Renewing America. And Russ Vought and William Wolfe are tight. And Russ Vought at the Center for Renewing of America said that Christian nationalism is a priority of Trump's second term. And William Wolfe is one of the editors of the Statement on Christian Nationalism and the Gospel. Also, amongst the people who wrote and edited that are Dusty Devers, another former representative of Fundamentalist Fuckwittery of the Week, and Joel Webbin, once again, another representative of Fundamentalist Fuckwittery of the Week. In 2023, Wolf was making a speech somewhere. I don't know where it was, but he quoted this sermon written in 1758 by a Presbyterian minister named Samuel Davis or Davies. I'm not sure, because in England that can be pronounced Davis, but it's spelled Davies.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of the sermon was "The Curse of Cowardice." Wolf, when he introduced this, he said, "This is a wonderful sermon, some good theological news." Well, I looked up the sermon. There's a lot of racist, white supremacist, sectarian language in there, but Wolf called it wonderful. Davies was trying to foment violence during the time of the French and Indian Wars, when the British colonists, who were still British subjects, were fighting with French Catholics who had allied themselves with different Native American groups. And if you want a good overview of that, see Alan Taylor's book, American Colonies. It's got a really good overview of the French and Indian War. And in that sermon, Davies said, this is just one line of many that were truly anti-Jesus. "Need I inform you what barbarities and depredations a mongrel race of Indian savages and French papists have perpetuated on our frontiers?" Now, that is some white supremacist, sectarian, anti-Catholic language. And yet William Wolf said, this is a wonderful sermon with good theology. So that right away will tell you what kind of person William Wolf chooses to be. Matt, if you want to bring up, I've got a very quick clip. It's less than a minute long, of Wolf talking to Kevin Roberts. And the irony of what I just said, I will share with you after the clip. So roll that fundamentalist fuckwit.
Again, you should care because you should want to live in a free and virtuous society. And as history shows us, free and virtuous societies must be grounded in transcendental truths and the moral order. As Christians, we believe that that moral order, the natural law, is given to us by God. It's revealed even in nature. But, you know, it's essentially going to be, you can be free in a Christian country as a non-Christian, or you can be under the jackboot of communism or some woke Marxism. And so you should want Christians to succeed for your own sake. We will either have the one true God reigning over the public square as mediated appropriately by a government, you know, which is different from a church, or we're going to have the golden calf of transgenderism, preferred pronouns, Black Lives Matter, and why don't we throw in Hamas there at the same time?
Okay. Yeah.
He just put transgender, Black Lives Matter, Hamas. He thought we all in the same bucket, huh?
Oh yeah, that was some major league false equivalence and some tacit racism and bigotry. And the ironic thing is that Kevin Roberts is a traditionalist hard right Catholic. So my question for William Wolf, the Southern Baptist with strong Calvinistic leanings, is how long is it going to be before you're fighting with Roberts and Leonard Leo and people like that, because you don't theologically agree. Mm-hmm. And they're both certain. They're both certain that their theology is absolutely right.
Of course.
And history has shown that when those kinds of things kick off, they're disastrous. But there was so much wrong with what he said in that just very brief statement. And he was saying that everybody should want to live under Christian nationalism because history says so. And
well, my guy,
he has a history degree, so he's apparently read some books. And I don't know how he came to that conclusion, because I also have a history degree, and I did not come to that conclusion. So bring up, Matt, the screenshot of Wolf, and this will give you a little bit more insight. And for those who can't see it, this is what Wolf said in December 2023, and I wrote a piece about it and screenshotted it in case he deleted it. It says, want to restore the American family, end no-fault divorce. In other words, trap women into marriages and they can't leave. End abortion. Reduce access to contraceptives. If you want to lower the rates of abortion, you should be increasing access to contraception, my guy.
Yes. Unplanned, unwanted pregnancies don't end. You have less unwanted pregnancies, you have less abortions.
Exactly. Require men to provide for their children as soon as it's determined the child is theirs. That should be up to the person carrying the child. That person may not want the man involved in any way, shape, form, or fashion because it could be an abuser, or they could have had any kind of agreement for surrogacy or whatever. End sex education in public schools. This is some purity culture bullshit that has absolutely no basis in reality. Sex education reduces unwanted pregnancies. It reduces risky sexual behavior. This is not my opinion.
Sexually transmitted diseases.
Yeah, it's the opinion of experts in the field. End surrogacy. I thought y'all were pro-life. And overturn Obergefell, which is the ruling that allows people who are not heterosexual to get married. So there's just a lot wrong with William Wolf.
What is his issue with surrogacy? Why is that there? What is his issue?
Because that's not part of
many Christian women and families who have had a surrogate to help them to bring a baby into the world. What is that? That's along the lines of the issues that they have with in vitro, IVF and all that. What's going on there?
It's not the natural procreation for, or sex for procreation only kind of thing, and it's stupid MAGA logic. So Wolf, again, a contributing editor of the Statement on Christian Nationalism. And in the introduction of that ridiculous document, which I've read multiple times, it says, setting forth a vision for and working toward a nation that honors Christ in civil government is obedience to Christ's Great Commission. It is absolutely not. That is the most ridiculous theological statement I think I've ever heard. In which he commanded followers empowered by his everlasting presence to make disciples of all nations, and to baptize them and teach them to obey all that I have commanded. He did not command any Christians to set up civil authorities or civil governments. The pursuit of a Christian nation is not a distraction from the gospel, but rather an effort to faithfully apply Scripture to all of life, including the public square, for God's glory, our earthly and eternal good. You can read the Gospels one at a time.
Sounds a lot like colonization to me.
Yeah. Go read Mark. Start with chapter 1, verse 1, and go all the way to chapter 16. Then go to Matthew and go all the way to chapter 28. I think it's chapter 28. Luke, same thing. You will not find anything that remotely looks like that document in the Gospels. These people are about authority and control, and that's it. And I mentioned former President Carter, who himself was a Southern Baptist. And this is what William Wolf had to say about Jimmy Carter after he passed away. Jimmy Carter was not a Bible-believing Christian by any stretch. Maybe he was once, but he left the faith long ago. So, of course, Christianity yesterday lionizes him as if he was. And that's, I guess, Christianity today. He's making some kind of joke. Carter was a progressive liberal Christian who remade Christianity into his own version of faith that was about being nice and good works. My guy, go read Matthew 25, 31 through 46. For fuck's sake. But he rejected the inerrancy and inspiration of Scripture, the exclusivity of the gospel, and salvation in Christ alone, and he affirmed so-called homosexual marriage. Millions of Christians, millions, if not billions, do not believe in the inerrancy of Scripture, because inerrancy is stupid, and it's a modern construct, and it's stupid. The Wesleyan quadrilateral includes reason, as in your mental acuity and your capacity to think critically.
Critical thinking.
And as I talked about on here, when the fundamentalist fuckwit of the week was some dude from social media, Genesis says that the Bible is a flat disc with a dome-shaped lid in chapter 1. You cannot have an inerrant document that claims that. You just can't. And that's just one of God only knows how many instances of a not inerrant Bible. The Bible's not univocal. It does not speak with one voice. The Bible's not theologically consistent. Sometimes God walks around in gardens, and other times God is not to be seen, heard, or thought about. And it, expresses God's self as lightning on a mountain. It's wildly disparate in lots of ways. So for all of these reasons and so many more, and this guy's dangerous because he was part of the Trump administration the last time. Now he's got an MDiv and he wants to be a pastor, and he's in cahoots with Russ Vought, who wants to make Christian nationalism a priority for Trump's second term. So for all of these reasons, William Wolf is this week's representative of fundamentalist fuckwittery for the week. And God help us.
Even the Bible says, come, let us reason together.
Yeah.
If you're a thinking individual using critical thinking skills, you cannot read that book cover to cover without questioning the content of it, unless you are completely indoctrinized and it have a cult-like mind. There's no person, no sane, right-thinking, logical individual with very basic critical thinking skills that will read that book cover to cover and not question some of the content in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I question whether or not somebody went and got 100 foreskins of a people. How the hell did he do that? They just lined up and let you cut their stuff off? I mean, there's so much in the Bible that's questionable.
And
like
just
you said, it's
flat
not
out wrong sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Anyway, that guy is dangerous. What's so dangerous too is that so many people think like that. So many Christians think like that. Look at who he threw all into one bucket. He's talking about the people who are transgender. He said the Black Lives Matter movement. He said he threw Hamas in there. What the illegal immigrant, whatever, just all of it. It's all there in the same bucket. It wasn't the Black Lives Matter movement that stormed the Capitol and beat down police with flagpoles and bear spray. They would have got shot.
Oh yeah, and he is a major league Trumper. He's all in on Trump.
Of course.
And he, before he blocked me on Twitter, but back before I left,
give you a round of applause that you got blocked by this fool. That's an accomplishment.
He would say things like, now Christian nationalism isn't about racism. We can't be having racism. And then he would turn around and then the next fucking breath say something in coded racist language and pretend that he wasn't racist. But I guarantee
was it him that you quoted at the beginning as having said mongrels or something or another?
No, that was the sermon that he quoted that he said was a wonderful sermon.
Right.
So if you think that calling Native Americans a race of mongrel savages is good theology, I got nothing, man, because that's Paul overturned that, and Paul gets a lot of flack. Jesus overturned that. And if the Bible was so doggone inerrant, how come Jesus said, "You have heard it said, but I say to you"?
But I say, and see, that's the thing, and we got to move on. But Jesus was literally, and maybe we'll do a segment on this one day. Jesus was literally deconstructing live and in color in his day.
That's right.
Because every time Jesus said, "You have heard," or the prophets have said, "But I say," that was deconstruction, boo. Right? That was deconstruction going on. He was a walking deconstructionist in every kind. If you look, you and I, Dillon, we might need to author a book together called "The First Deconstructionist," Jesus Christ, right? Because his whole life was about deconstruction. How he moved, how he handled people, the people he hung out with, the fact that he entertained the woman at the well. The fact that they wanted to bring the woman to be stoned, and he wrote in whatever he wrote in there and said, hey, whoever got clean hands, go ahead and throw the first stone. He was constantly deconstructing. The fact that he called out the Sadducees and Pharisees. Like you said, whenever he said, you have heard it said, or the prophet has said, but I say, that is deconstruction in scripture. He's literally deconstructing the existing structure and systems right there in the scriptures. Right there.
It's right there.
It's right there in black and white. You know what I'm saying? And what else is in black and white is this motherfucker I want to talk about right now. Has a lot to do with some blackness and some whiteness, in my personal opinion. This gentleman who goes by the name of Governor Mike Parsons of Missouri is my TMF this week. This motherfucker right here would not pardon Marcellus Williams. If you remember, Marcellus Williams was convicted of murder. His cause was taken up by the Innocence Project. It's highly believed that he was innocent of this. It went down to the final hours of everybody and that could trying to save this man's life. The Governor Parson refused to commute and or pardon or give him another hearing or anything. He was just like, nope, that's it. He just let the man be executed.
Yeah.
But what he did do is commute the sentence of the first police officer convicted of killing a black man in the state of Missouri, who actually was found to be guilty. Not only guilty of manslaughter, but also planting during the investigation. It was found to be that he planted a gun on the man that he killed. So this thing is shady. Okay. He was convicted by a jury of his peers. He appealed. He lost the appeal. He got 6 years. And this man, on his way out the door, Governor Parson, commuted his sentence. I have a video about it. We're going to watch the video and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. But that's why, let's watch the video. If you can pull that up, Matt. And let's see what I just want you to listen. Just listen to this.
Missouri, a white cop named Eric D. Van Clenair entered the property illegally of a black man named Cameron Lamb, and he executed him. And then something remarkable happened that had never happened before in the history of Missouri. For the first time, a white cop was convicted of killing an unarmed innocent black man. And this white cop was then sentenced to prison for his crime of killing an innocent unarmed black man. Yesterday, Missouri Governor Parsons commuted the sentence of this white cop, absolving him of this horrific murder of Cameron Lamb. Mind you, this is the same governor who refused to commute the sentence of Marcellus Williams, an innocent black man that evidence demonstrated his innocence. A white governor commuted the sentence.
Okay, now what happened? let me run you down real quick what happened there on that night. Now, DeValcanier, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. He's white. He was serving a 6-year prison sentence. He was convicted in 2021. So listen, he didn't even spend that much time because he was out on bond. Okay. He killed 26-year-old Cameron Lamb on the morning of December 3rd, 2019. He had responded to a request over the radio to check out a driver who had been speeding through the streets or whatever. When he got to Lamb was actually pulling into his driveway, backing into the garage. So this is not a situation where he's chasing somebody through the streets and it's a police chase. Not at all. This person was pulling into their garage at the house.
Wow.
DeValcanier, who was not in uniform, so he's not knowing who this guy is. Okay. Knocked down a makeshift fence to enter the property. Killed Lamb 9 seconds later, sitting in his pickup, and he had just made a phone call. 9 seconds. He doesn't have a warrant. He knocks down a fence. Within 9 seconds, on the property, this guy is dead in his truck.
Wow.
The Vulcaner said he fired when Lamb pointed. Now listen to this. He fired when Lamb pointed a gun at his partner. Police reportedly found Lamb in his truck hanging out the driver's side window and a handgun on the ground near his left hand. Prosecutors contended that the gun was planted. Okay. He was convicted of second-degree involuntary manslaughter. He had no right to enter into the property, and the shooting was unconstitutional. Right? Simple. At least you would think it's so. He appealed that, and the court upheld the verdict. Okay, the Missouri Supreme Court refused to review the case. A federal judge ruled in the civil case that he violated Lamb's constitutional rights because he did. Okay, and then here comes Parson on his way out the door. Apparently, he's retiring this month or next month or whatever. Pardons this man. He is routinely, they say, refused to intervene in wrongful convictions of Black men. No surprise. No surprise there. Here's a statement by one of the minority leader of Kansas City. She says, while Eric DeValkenair gets to spend Christmas with his family, the 3 children of Cameron Lamb will never see their father again. That is House Minority Ashley Oon from Kansas City Democrat. There is no justice here. There is no justice here. Listen, I don't know. I'm more upset than angry because I'm not surprised at that. I'm not surprised at all, but it hurts to keep seeing it.
Yeah.
It hurts to keep witnessing it. It hurts to see that this man who killed this man in cold blood, 9 seconds on the property, this young man is dead. Go ahead and pull up that picture, please. Those are his children. And that Governor Mike Parson has saw fit on his way out the door to commute this man's sentence and put him on parole for murder. For murder that he was found guilty of and convicted of. Not falsely convicted of, not convicted of an error, not an accident. This man was convicted by his peers in court. His conviction was upheld by the Missouri Supreme Court. And he took it upon himself to commute this man's sentence on the way out the door. And the man, I don't think he's even spent a year. Because I guess Mr. Lamb's life isn't worth the time that they gave. They only gave him 6 years. They only gave him 6 years, which he wasn't going to do all of that. At his very first parole hearing or whatever hearing to get out, he probably would be out. So he wasn't going to do that all that time. And he only got 6 years for unconstitutionally entering onto this property, taking this man's life in 9 seconds and planting a gun on him. But he couldn't see fit to commute. He didn't have to pardon. He couldn't see fit to commute the sentence of Marcellus Williams on something that no one believed that he did. I'm trying to see how long Marcellus Williams was there. 21 years. Marcellus was executed after 20 years in prison. He couldn't commute his sentence and give him parole. He couldn't commute his sentence and give him life. He could have just gave him life in prison, right? He didn't have to really let him out. He could have just said, we're not going to execute him.
Right.
He didn't. He just let him die. I am not surprised. It just pains me. I am just hurt by it. But this is America. And this is the reality of those that hold the power. The mindset that says, you see this beautiful family here on the bottom? I don't care about that. It's not serving the public for the man who killed that man to serve time. But it is serving the public for the man who didn't kill somebody as far as the innocent project has to say, and anyone else that looks close into this case has to say, it serves the public for this man to die. That does serve the public. But it doesn't serve the public for this man to even spend 6 years. We probably only spent 2.5, 3 in prison for what he did. And that's why Governor Mike Parson and any other person in leadership like him is this motherfucker this week. This motherfucker right here, sitting up in a position of power that literally has life and death in the power of his hands, decided that Brother Lamb's life was not worth 6 years in prison for this white cop, and decided that 20 years was not enough, that death was what Marcellus Williams deserved. That's why, and I'm sorry, I know that's heavy, but that's why Governor Mike Parson of Missouri is this motherfucker. And he can go straight to hell as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know what's going to become of old boy, the cop who killed the other guy. I don't really wish death or ill intent on anyone, because that's just not in my spirit to do. But I pray that you have the rest of the life that you deserve. That's it. Because you cannot say, and they probably both believe that they're Christian. They probably both believe in Jesus Christ. They probably both say that they believe in the Bible. But you cannot be any of those things and value one life over the other. And he has made it clear time and time again what he values and who has value. And unfortunately, that's something that's on display all over this country. That's this America. That's what we have to do. That's this motherfucker this week. I know that was heavy. That was heavy for me. But that's what it is. That's what it is in this country. And you could act like it doesn't exist. You could act like systemic racism is not real. But those who are at the receiving end of it know that it is real. It is as real as life and death, literally.
I bet you Mike Parson denounces critical race theory as divisive and untrue.
I bet you.
I bet William Wolfe looked at that and thought, that's just fine. But I would be scared shitless if I were Mike Parson right now, and that former cop. For one thing, how the fuck do you get involuntary manslaughter out of illegally entering a property and killing somebody 9 seconds later? That's not involuntary.
And planting a gun.
And then planting the gun. Yeah, exactly. I know that there's different categories, premeditated murder, murder 1, murder 2, murder 3, but that is not involuntary manslaughter. That's bonkers for a start, and only 6 years. And then, yes, the Innocence Project and multiple attorneys said that Marcellus was innocent of the crimes that he was convicted of.
And listen to this. This is the mindset behind this. Jason Johnson, president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, which backed DeValcanaire, this is the officer who backed this officer, said they will continue to fight to completely clear his name. This is when it was going on. But this is the statement. Listen to this. While we strongly maintain that Eric is completely innocent, how think you can maintain that with the fact that he unconstitutionally just killed this person within 9 seconds of encountering him at his own house, backing into the garage? How you could maintain that he's completely innocent, I don't know. But he says, while we strongly maintain that Eric is completely innocent, this is the part that you got to listen real close. Even those who do not, listen real close what I'm about to say. This is what this man said. Must recognize that the ends of justice are not served by his incarceration.
Oh, what the fuck?
The fuck do you mean by that? So a black man who did not do the crime that he is convicted of deserves death, and that does serve justice, apparently. But this cop who unconstitutionally entered into the property of and then murdered somebody and then planted a weapon on them to cover that up, his incarceration does not serve. Then what does justice fucking look like for you?
Yeah.
Because incarceration and death is what it looks like for every fucking body else. So what does it look like for you? He said, even those who don't think that he's completely innocent because they're in their right fucking mind, even those who do not must listen at the audacity and arrogance of saying that those who don't believe that he's completely innocent must recognize that him being incarcerated does not serve justice. Then
I ain't got to recognize that shit.
Maybe you're right. Maybe somebody shooting his ass and planting a gun on him would be justice. Maybe you're right about that. Maybe an eye for an eye would be better.
Yeah.
The fuck? Yeah.
I mean,
This guy, Jason Johnson with the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, he's an honorable mention for this motherfucker. He's this week. He's an honorable mention.
Yeah, that's that big blue wall that cops can't be held accountable and all that shit. 25 years ago, I saw a t-shirt that said, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing.
That's right. Donna said that's just gaslighting, period. Now, what were you saying, Dillon? I'm sorry.
This is the kind of thing that people like us have been pointing out for decades. That systemic racism is real. And that's why Derek Bell formulated the theory of critical race theory. Because even when certain legislation seems to be moving us forward, the embedded white supremacy and patriarchal fuckwittery in the Constitution and in our vast scope of laws is going to push right back on it.
Push right back. The man went to, first of all, the fact that we're in the year of our Lord 20 and 21 before the first officer killed in a black man was ever convicted of that crime in that state, in the history of the whole state.
And I guarantee you there was plenty of white cops killing black people in Missouri because I was born there.
You already know. You know it was. Plenty. He's the first. First one. So, okay, justice is working. He gets convicted. To me, the time was not enough because I feel like if it was a black cop that did that to a white unarmed man and planted a gun on him, he probably would have got life or something close to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the death penalty.
Something. It wouldn't have been 6 years. I can guarantee. Fucking guarantee you that.
It would not have been involuntary manslaughter. That's for sure.
Okay, but he got 6 years. Okay. Okay, then he appeals it, and the Supreme Court says, nah, bruh, it is what it is. Go on, do your time. Okay. And then he still gets a get out of free fucking jail card. The get out of jail free card at the end with this clown. You get parole for killing somebody. It's still, like you said, even when it seems to be working, the systemic racism will kick it back every 2 steps, where it's going to kick it back 4 steps.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we just wanted to remind you, no, it ain't, the law ain't for everybody. Not everybody has to obey the law. No, we got you, psych.
Yeah.
Muted.
I just want to clarify something. I said that Mike Parsons should be scared and that cop should be scared. And that's because there are people out there who are angry at these kinds of things. And they, again, do not subscribe to the same nonviolent actions that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe that there's not another Ferguson kind of thing happening in Missouri right now.
You and me both, to be honest. I'm sure there's plenty of uproar, but I think that we are fatigued, to be honest with you, as a country and definitely as a people, fatigued with just worn the fuck out.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And also worn out with feeling like, why do it if it doesn't matter? The country rewards people like that officer. Look who's elected president. The country rewards that kind of behavior. If it's expressed towards certain individuals, it is rewarded. It is celebrated. Look at Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever his name was. It's rewarded. Look at the man who choked out the man on the subway who had not touched or harmed anybody, and they're celebrating him. It is rewarded. It is rewarded. Unfortunately, I hope you got some good news for us. Let's talk about the word on the street.
Well,
them over in Missouri. Let's talk about, and by them motherfuckers, I'm talking about Jason Johnson and Governor what the fuck. What you got? Word on the street.
I do got some good news before I get to the word on the street. Just a brief thing. Lancaster, where I live, is holding. There's an organization called Lancaster Stands Up. It's part of a broader coalition of activist organizations under the umbrella of Pennsylvania Stands Up. And they are on Inauguration Day / Martin Luther King Day holding a Defeating Project 2025 meeting at Community Mennonite Church here in town.
At the Mennonite Church. Okay.
Mennonites are very social justice oriented a lot of the time, particularly if they're not super conservative like Old Order Mennonite. So that is something that I want to encourage people, wherever you are, look for things like that, because there are resistance movements that are happening. And then another piece of good news is that Texas Catholics, priests and nuns, are already ramping up support for immigrants on both sides of the border. Those that are migrants that are coming because they are fleeing oppression or fleeing climate change or fleeing economic policies that the United States put in place that makes their lives untenable, or people that are already here, whether they're here legally or undocumented or whatever, that are fearful of the second Trump administration and the draconian things that Trump and that fascist fuckwit Greg Abbott. And I'm sorry, the man is a fascist. If you put killing instruments in a river when you know that people are coming because they are seeking safety and drownings go up, then Jesus is going to have to forgive you, because I don't know if I can.
And those blood and those lives and souls are in his hand.
Exactly.
That is what it is.
So that is some good news. There are Christians doing good things in response to the Christo-fascism that we are faced with because of people like William Wolfe and Russ Vought. But the word on the street this week comes to you from the prophet Amos. Amos was a prophet in the 8th century BCE. And this is what Dr. John Collins said of Amos. Amos operates with the concept of universal justice. His oracles and prophecies dealt with social injustice and the sacrificial cult. For Amos, to serve God is to practice justice. And my Hebrew Bible professor in the theological commentary from Knox Publishing said that Amos has a scathing critique of the wealthy and looked for universal human rights. So in the book of Amos, he condemns other nations who aren't harming Israel for harming each other and doing bad things to one another, human rights abuses. So in that vein, the word on the street is going to be from Amos, if I don't fuck this up. Judgment on Israel, Amos 2:6-8. This is Amos lambasting the wealthy. And he says, "Thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel and for 4, I will not revoke the punishment, because they sell the righteous for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals. They who trample the head of the poor into the dust of the earth and push the afflicted out of the way. Father and son go into the same young woman, so that the holy name is profaned. They lay themselves down beside every altar on garments taken in pledge. And in the house of God, they drink wine bought with the fines that they imposed." In other words, rich people are harming poor people, taking their clothes and then using them for bedding, fining people for all manner of things, and then drinking the wine that they buy from those fines. And then later in Amos 5:21-24, he's talking about the cultic sacrifice festivals. And he's like, nah, God don't want none of that. And this reminds me of the performative nonsense of Christian nationalists and their bullshit. I despise your festivals, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer up your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. and the offerings of well-being of your fatted animals I will not look upon. Take away from me the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the melody of your harps, but let justice roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. And in that arid environment of Israel, water is life. And that let that water flow like righteousness. And that was one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s favorite quotes. He often ended speeches and sermons with that. So in our day and age, the performative pandering to Christian nationalism and so-called biblical worldview and the aggrandizement of the wealthy and putting a man who shits on a golden toilet into the presidency, I think Amos is talking to y'all, folks. I think Amos is speaking to you.
That's right.
And that's the word on the street.
That's the word on the street. Give it up for Brother Amos. Brother Amos, thank you for that word, Brother Amos. Prophet Amos. Is he considered one of the minor prophets?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have a deep theological dive one of these times into the prophets. But anyhow, thank you for that word on the street, Dillon. Appreciate that. Listen, if you haven't already, what you need to do is go get Theological Musings Volume 1 and 2 from your brother. You know, he doesn't have pink hair, but it ain't too late.
That's right. My hair is not pink. It did not turn pink.
Go get those. Go check him out. Also, listen, Brother Keith is not on our show anymore, but he did start this show with us. So I just want to encourage you to go get his book, The Quantum Sands of Jesus. It's an awesome book. You can also get my book if you'd like to, called The Church and Go to Hell. I have some things I am diligently working on wrapping up for the year 20 and 25. So I hope to be bringing out some new releases with Choir Publishing. And shout out to Choir Publishing. Shout out to our producer, Matt DeStefano, and all the Choir family. Thank you for all you do, for the platform that you give us to bring these good news and just news in general and what the F is in the news to the public. I appreciate it. And Happy New Year again to everybody. And I want to just say this on the way out the door. I did see a comment earlier that said it's kind of heavy. It's looking like an uphill struggle. I saw that post earlier by one of our viewers. And I just want to say I understand. And you have a right to your feelings. Own them. Sit with them as long as you need to. I understand and I get it. However, I do want to encourage you to look up, to look at the good, to see the light in your life, to understand that we are not the decisions of this country as it relates to politics, as it relates to who sits in the White House, or even as it relates to some lunatic that decides to run a cyber truck into a building or plow into a crowd. We must, in this time, focus on our individual integrity. It is going to be your individual integrity, okay, and moral compass that's going to get you through the next 4 years and beyond. Okay, long gone are the days where you could say, "I'm proud to be an American." Look, I ain't never done that
shit ain't happening no more.
I ain't never ever been in a place where I could say that, but some have. But long gone are those days. Okay, we got the Cheeto Jesus sitting up in the White House again come 2 weeks, and I just want to encourage you that is not a reflection on you. That's not a reflection on me. And while it might be a reflection on those that voted for him, that's not gonna. Whoever sits in that White House is not going to define every day of my life. And I refuse. And I hope you will refuse with me. Okay. To allow that to consume you. Make this year what you want it to be. Don't you dare cede your power and authority and your joy and your peace over to that clown. Don't you dare do that. Don't you dare hand your peace over to the news. Don't you dare let this world and these shenanigans suck the joy clean out of your mind. Be intentional about your joy. Protect your peace, okay? And guard your energy with your life. Not everybody deserves your energy. And sure in the hell, it ain't Donald Trump that deserves your energy, your peace, and your joy. So your individual integrity and your personal standard and moral compass is what's going to get you through. And gratitude for waking up, being able to do this. See that right there? That's purpose. That's purpose. Circulating through your veins. Keep waking up. Keep rising. Keep pressing. Keep grinding. Be intentional about your joy. Amanda McAuliffe Skinner said, "Joy is the resistance." Amen, sis. Amen to that. Joy is the resistance. And we're going to go out on that right there. See you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Until then and forevermore, joy is the resistance. And so is love. Love too. Okay? Love, peace, and chicken grease. We'll see y'all next week.
That's right. And we're back on John Fugel Things. Tell me everything.
Yes, tell me everything. Next week, Wednesday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. John Fugel Things, Sirius XM.